You are listening to Mark of the Maker. Thank you for tuning in to this latest episode. I'm Nick Rolfe, and it's my pleasure to introduce these gentlemen of the podcast, Tom Crine, Michael Birch, Sean Kendrick, and the host, Mr. Mark Steiner. Enjoy the show.
That's awesome.
How cool was that? That totally caught me off guard.
There you go.
I thought you were using some sort of weird voice box.
No, that's the real deal. That's our pal, Mr. Nick Rolfe, giving us the proper read-in for the show, so high five to Nick.
Thanks, Nick.
Can we hire him and fire Mark?
Probably. He's probably a little more expensive than I am, though.
I'd say so.
So yeah, very cool of Nick to take a couple minutes and help us out with a little show intro. Super pro style.
Heck yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is episode 11, and we're going to talk about knife show etiquette. And we wanted to get this done before Blade Show so that it's kind of out there and folks can listen to it. And, this knife show thing is a very social experience, but there's also business that's happening at the show. That's kind of the whole point for the makers, the primary point anyway. And then there's social stuff as well. And there's some good things to talk about because sometimes there's people that haven't been to a show before that have questions about how exactly does this work. Other times there's people that do go to shows that don't pay attention to these things that probably should, and some combination of the two. So anyway, that's what we're talking about tonight. You guys got anything to add before we kind of get rolling on this thing?
Not really. Looking forward to this one. It should be interesting.
Yeah. Try not to go off any rants.
Let's roll it.
All right.
We'll try.
Yeah, we'll try. Okay. And you just heard from everybody. So Tom Crine, Michael Birch, Sean Kendrick, and we're all here doing this thing. So
And
anyway,
Nick is not actually here.
No,
he's not actually here.
Unfortunately.
Sadly, he's not.
Unfortunately.
Okay, so let's start this whole topic, knife show etiquette. So when, Blade Show's coming up, right? It's not very far away, and that makes Birch sweat when I say that. We're only, 2.5 weeks out? 2 weeks out?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe less than that.
Yeah, I think I leave 2 weeks from tomorrow.
2 weeks.
So we have 2 weeks.
So people are already, I've seen the questions in different Facebook groups and on USN and other stuff. Hey, this is going to be my first time going to Blade Show. What do I need to do? What should I bring? How should I approach this whole thing? So, Tom, you want to talk about this first point?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, when you're getting ready for the show, it isn't just about buying stuff, but if you're planning on buying stuff, cash is king. Bring cash.
Right. It's not like there's a cash register. It's not like people have credit card machines on their table, generally speaking, right?
Right. And the ATM that's in the little mini mall gets wiped out pretty hard. And I think you can only pull like 300 a day or something out of it. I don't know. But yeah, cash is king. Some makers will take PayPal. I take PayPal. If you can use a credit card through PayPal, I'll take that too. But, using a credit card at the show is actually getting harder for us. I don't know about you, Michael, if you've looked into getting like a Cube or any of that, but they're totally anti-knife company. I've tried 2 different companies and was rejected because I'm a knife company.
I've never tried. I've stuck with, I'll do PayPal if somebody, that I know or whatever, but yeah, cash does most of it. But I mean, there's also companies there, like larger companies that will do the credit card stuff for more production type stuff. I mean, a lot of this is based off of us as custom makers and our, knowledge of it.
So the short answer is if you're coming to buy custom knives, you should bring cash, and you probably should bring more than you think you need to bring. I've seen people ask that question before. How much should I bring? And my answer always is bring all of it.
Right.
Because you might go to Blade Show and get skunked. You might go to Blade Show. My son and I, we went when the first year we went, actually, we got pulled. Like, I think I brought home 11 knives.
Wow.
Between the two of us. It was crazy. Now, the funny part was we got called last in every lottery that we were in. So that was pretty funny when we did buy a couple knives off the table from folks They weren't lottery pieces, but we brought home a whole bunch of knives that year, and we spent all the money and a little. So bring all the money.
Wow.
That's pretty awesome.
And obviously don't bring like house payments, stuff like that. No knife is worth going over your, bills and stuff like that. That shouldn't have to be said at all.
There's banks right by the Waverly if you need to get cash in a larger amount.
Yeah.
But bring what you can.
But I mean, just bring it and you'll be fine. Some people sometimes worry about flying with it, and just keep an eye on it. It happens probably more often than people think, the flying with money and doing whatever. But obviously keep it to yourself. Don't post photos on,
don't flash it.
Social media. I don't understand why people do that. Hey, I'm getting ready to go somewhere. Here's a big wad of cash. Don't do that.
Yeah. People get killed for a lot less.
For trouble.
If they don't know you have it, it's good. And I've flown with a lot of cash over the years, and when you're going through, I have it in something and I'll stick it in my bag when it goes through, and I've never been stopped. And I've had $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 in cash. And if they do want to question you about it, ask, what are you laughing about?
I just talked about don't saying shit. Don't put shit on social media, and you're telling a podcast.
Nobody jack Tom after the show, okay?
Everybody knows that we have cash money unless we go to the bank. But the thing is,
I don't know what you're talking about.
The thing is, don't flash it in the airport.
Yeah, don't.
And if they are gonna question you or want to know, ask to go in a private screening area. Don't let them open up your bag right there in front of everybody.
Don't make it rain on the TSA agent. They don't think it's funny.
Bad idea.
They have no sense.
No, man. If the pat down's right, you may drop a couple bills.
Well, that's when you give it a crisp fold.
That's
A
different.
real artist likes to see some appreciation for their work.
And Sean says, and just for the record, I don't care if you bring the car payment or the house payment, man.
Exactly.
Bring it all.
If somebody ruins their life to get one of my knives, I'm a little flattered.
Yeah.
It's an accomplishment.
Makes a knife that much more special.
Oh man,
Exactly.
Very nice. And that kind of carries on to, just doing homework and stuff.
Yeah.
You want to talk a little bit about that, Sean, about what people should do before they go to the show that way?
Yeah, man. Have a plan. Have your shit planned out. Have a method to your madness, as it were. Because you're going to be overwhelmed when you hit the floor because there's just knives everywhere.
Man,
So at least have a rough plan of the dudes you mainly want to hit, the stuff you definitely have to see, and make sure you get that taken care of.
it feels like an explosion when you walk in that door. At least it did to me.
Yeah.
It still does. You walk in there and it's like, kaboom, knife.
It's so
universe.
big. It's such a big space. I still get vertigo when I walk in.
And make a map. Take Blade Show. Blade Magazine has the stuff online and in the magazine that they just came out with, and they'll have the magazines out front. Grab that thing ahead of time, or while you're waiting in line, find who you want to get to, circle it, and know it.
I'd do it before you're waiting in line.
Or you know what I mean? Just as much time as you can do it right. As soon as you listen to this podcast, if you're not doing it already, plan it out. But also be, flexible with it, because things are going to change. Or, you may have a buddy that wants to go do this or that, or, whatever. So be prepared, but, be prepared to be flexible too.
See, right now, if Abby's listening to this, once we publish it, she's going to be nodding and smiling with tears rolling down her face about, make a plan, Michael. That's exactly right. That's all I ever wanted, was for you to make a plan.
I always make a plan. It's just usually some bullshit national treasure type plan in my head.
Then we go to the sarcophagus. Then we get the gold, okay?
Yeah. And then the knife magically is done.
Right.
So that's why my plans don't always work out.
Yeah.
I would agree. Be flexible, because things are you'll have a plan that you're going to walk the show all day, and about 4 hours in, your feet are killing you, your back's hurting.
You're hungry.
Go sit out front, or go down to Jocks and Jill's and get a sandwich and a drink, and then come back up to the show when you're feeling a little better. Bring Motrin and Tylenol.
Yeah. Jocks and Jill's is a good place for, your basic food stuff, your chicken strips or what are, your basic
Close.
type of.
There's a Subway right there. There's a couple restaurants real close and in the same building. And bring Motrin and Tylenol. They're your
And
friends.
stay hydrated.
If you're drinking alcohol, don't take the Tylenol. But yeah.
Well, so for people that have not been to Blade Show specifically before, and I think all this advice applies to all shows in general, probably, but for people that have not been to Blade Show before, what the guys are talking about is when you come out of the main floor of the show, there's a I don't know, it's really like I guess it'd be the basement of that building, right? Or the lower level or lower floor.
Level.
It's like a food court kind of area with isn't there 5 or 6 different places down there?
Yeah, there's like a Mongolian grill and Jocks and Jill's and
Yeah.
some kind of Chinese food, I think, and a Subway.
For sure, like at the Vegas show, that's one of the things that I end up doing there if I can is like actually go sit down for a little while. Or like I've done that at the New York show. Like go enjoy the show for the morning and then take a break and like go sit down for a minute and get some food and whatever. It's easy to kind of go all day, and that makes it harder to enjoy the evening, which is where the real fun social stuff starts to happen. So
Yeah, pace yourself.
Yeah, it's a marathon. You've got to pace yourself and make sure you bring yourself a little, phone charger.
oh yeah.
Those are a great little invention. What do you call those little flash phone chargers?
Battery
Little-
pack.
Battery backup thing. Yep.
Yeah, a little battery pack. Those things are awesome because you got nowhere to charge it during the day, and then you're going to be out probably late. Even if you don't buy or anything like that, you're going to be out talking with people, shooting the shit. I mean, that's a lot of the fun.
If you've never been to
So, have
if
that
you've
shit
never been to
charged.
the Blade Show before, in the lobby of the Waverly, every night there's the pit. You got to go. I guess we're going to talk about that later, right?
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Okay.
I think.
All right. Sorry,
That's okay. And
I
then,
got excited about it.
well, that's
dropping those spoilers.
Sorry.
again.
that's a super fun part. So one of the things I wanted to mention in here was the fact that apparently, like normally there's Blade Show is one massive mega size room, but it sounds like they have some people off in something called the new room.
Yep.
So like Brian Efros and some other people are off in that room. So that you're definitely going to want to know that there's another space. So even for Blade Show veterans, there's this other room that you're going to want to go to probably that has some other people in it. I don't even know where it is on the Blade Show layout, but
So it's if you're walking towards the mall, like at exit, up on the top by the escalators, it's right next to the Blade Show room.
huh.
Yeah, I think especially for Blade Show veterans.
Okay. So yeah, there's definitely another room this year. So I got to try to make it over there too.
Yeah.
They're kind of crazy. I looked at the map and I'm like, I don't know. It's going to be odd for sure.
Yeah.
Another thing, if you're a member of a forum or a group and you have a badge, wear the badge because that's how people are going to identify you. If you're on USN and you have a badge, put it on. You're gonna see a lot of people that you're used to communicating with online.
And I've seen in some of the Facebook groups, people will do that too before a show. Sometimes they'll say, hey, post a picture of your actual self, because there's lots of funny identities on Facebook and on things like Instagram that don't match people's face. And that was always the challenge with the USN thing, right? No one ever actually saw your face unless you showed up at a show. So
Yeah.
the whole badge thing was a really nice way to be able to walk up to someone and say hello and then, oh, hey, I recognize that username. I know who you are.
Yeah.
And it's harder now than it ever has been. Now people have 3 or 4 different, handles, across the social medias.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's tough sometimes to identify. I mean, there'll be someone I'll be talking to me like, oh shit, you're, such and such, because I won't recognize who they tell me they are or whatnot.
I don't know about you guys, but it's really hard for me because it's like, if you're somebody coming to a show and you go to meet Michael Birch, it's one Michael Birch, you're going to meet him, but it's like we meet 50, 100 people every day at the show or more. And it's just so hard to keep track sometimes. So a badge does help.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. And sometimes it's flipped around and I'm like, oh.
I know who this is, but I can't remember their name.
Yeah. I'm so close. But yeah, I mean, like we're saying, do the homework. And that means also, you know the makers you like. And there's going to be a lot that you may find that you don't know about. But, the ones you do like, find out what kind of sale they're doing or how they're selling their knives. Is it first come, first serve? Is it lottery? What kind of lottery? And if you don't know how that lottery works, try to find out. Maybe Mark can explain, some of the different types of lotteries, I guess.
Like Birch said, find out how they do it. Like, I don't know what a lot of makers do, but I try to post a schedule in my Facebook group, a few days before the show. And that way people know what's going on and where I'm going to be and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we'll put teaser pictures of what we're bringing and stuff like that.
I'll even let people know how I do it at the end of this podcast.
Whoa.
What?
Yeah, that's right.
This isn't some kind of advertising thing. Don't go dropping plugs up in here.
BirchTreeBladeWorks.com. That's great.
So I mentioned this on a previous show, and someone actually brought it up in one of the Facebook groups. I used to keep this thread on USN that was in the knife show section for Blade Show, Gathering, sometimes New York Show, where I'd kind of gather all the info because a few years ago, it was normal for people to do a lottery that was a live lottery. Like, hey, I'm going to draw names at 3:00. Show up at 3:00 on Friday, and, we're going to do the lottery. The problem was that those live lotteries made a giant mess in the middle of the show floor. So there would be, these guys next to someone who isn't having a lottery, right? Like a traditional knife maker or a fixed blade maker or somebody that wasn't as busy. And suddenly 300 people show up in one spot and are knocking the tables and, all kind of clustered around trying to hear how the lottery's going, and it makes a big giant mess. So I think there's very few live lotteries anymore. I think they asked you guys not to do them on the floor, right?
Yeah, a few years ago they said you had to have it in a room. Yeah. But then I was like, well, okay, what room? They said, well, you have to have a booth to do it in the room. I'm like, okay. So, but luckily the beep beep, Burnley's beep beep came around, and that has been so much nicer, so easy to do.
Yeah, Luke came up with a genius thing when he invented the beep beep lottery.
Right. So for people that aren't familiar, beep beep lottery basically means a cell phone lottery. And so the way Luke did it or does it, I think.
What was that?
Don't you wish you knew, Sean? No, that.
Oh, well, very much so.
That's Amy watching Tiger game, and they must have actually scored a run in the other room, which is very unusual because they were getting their asses kicked a couple minutes ago. So, anyway, the beep beep,
solid cover story.
That's awesome.
Pipe down, girl.
It has just enough detail to make me believe.
Yeah, almost. So the beep beep lottery is a cell phone lottery thing, and the way Lucas does it is he has these tickets, and you fill out your name and your cell phone number, and then he has, I think, usually little bags or boxes, right, Tom?
Yeah.
And you go along and drop these tickets into boxes or bags that are on individual knives. And like Michael said, that thing has kind of taken hold, and I think most people on the floor that are doing lotteries will have some form of that these days. I say most of the makers that I follow or hang out with have that same kind of cell phone lottery thing going. In some cases, they'll have tickets that you write your stuff on and stick it in a box or bag. In some cases, we use these little notebook looking things where you just write down your name and cell phone number in the book, and there's a number next to where you wrote your name down, and then it gets drawn and you get a text message. So the good part about that is it doesn't jack up your whole show. I mean, I remember going to shows, and one of the reasons I would keep those threads on USN, to be honest, was because I wanted to know where I needed to be at what time. And then it kind of made the show extra busy because I had to sort of run around. And when I wasn't waiting for the train, I had to run around at certain times a day to be in certain places. And if you happen to miss one because you were busy talking or looking at stuff or checking things out, you basically miss a lottery opportunity, and you might get called and not be there, which really, really sucks. So the cool part about the beep beep is you go by, see your favorite maker, you say hello, shoot the shit a little bit, enter in their lottery, and then go about your show. And if you get a text message that says you won, then you won. With the other nice part about that, and I guess this is kind of launching into the next part, which is at the show, right? So once you did all your homework and you're all ready and you have some kind of plan and you actually get into the show, this beep beep thing, that's the good thing to do first, in my opinion, is go around and get in the lotteries that you want to be in. That kind of takes care of the, I'll call it air quotes, business piece of the show, and then go enjoy the show.
Yeah.
One of the weird things that, go ahead, Michael.
I was just going to say, there's also a lot of makers that, I don't personally know, and there might be a lot of first come, first serve too. I don't know about some of the newer fellows and stuff like that. So it's, like I said, just do your homework and find out first though. But yeah, you have time on the beep beep. Usually they don't start till, in the afternoon, at least on that first day. But yeah, do your homework. Find out first though.
And don't enter more lotteries than you have money to cover.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, you don't have to take it. I mean, that's the thing. People, it's nice if you do, but I've had people get jammed up and win a bunch of other stuff, and I guess they wanted that stuff more than mine, so it's all good. That's the beauty about the beep beep. You just call somebody else.
Well,
for me.
Yeah, and yet I think this experience is very different, right? Like I was at the Emerson Lottery once upon a time and got called, and the Emerson Lottery thing is in its own room. There's a band. It's a whole thing. It's a very big event. And it's, as a buyer, it's a ton of pressure. It feels crazy when you get called because there's a bunch of people. Yeah. You go up to the table, and to be honest, it's hard to think. It's like a stress situation, right? It's like, I don't know which one to pick. And, okay, so that's really exciting. It's a good adrenaline thing, but it kind of sucks because you might end up, I've seen people pick a knife and then afterward they're like, why the hell did I pick this knife? I don't want this knife. That kind of sucks, right?
Yeah.
It's like I was up there and I had this opportunity. I should have picked something different. So one of the really cool things about a beep beep lottery is it gives time for the buyer to actually look at the knives and check them all out and ask some questions before they make a pick because they're not under pressure by a big, huge crowd of people standing around them. And Michael's talked about this before. It gives the maker an opportunity to actually talk to the customer instead of, okay, that's yours, set it aside, come see me in a few minutes so we can make payment and get this thing done, right?
Yeah.
Okay, it can be a little more personal experience.
Well, I will say, if you want the knife and can't pay for it, it's one thing. But if you want the knife, if you don't know anything about the knife, but it's a lotto, don't put in unless you're going to buy it. Because I've had dealers just walk by and I call them and they come down and it's like this ordeal because they don't know anything about me, anything about my knife, and they have to like make phone calls to see if it's a good deal, if they want to buy it or whatever, if they can make money on it. It's like, do your homework. Dealers too, do your homework. Don't, you know what I'm saying? It's like,
yep.
That's really awkward when somebody's at your table wanting to know if they should buy the knife so they can flip it or not, and it's just like very frustrating.
Then just don't sell it to them, man. If somebody pulled shit like that with me, I'd tell them to get away from my table.
I would say especially a dealer. That'd be like going to a car lot and the guy not knowing what the hell he was selling you. I mean, it's just...
Yeah.
I had that happen at New York.
But
yeah.
Yeah.
And Julie was standing there and she's like, I'll tell you what, I'll buy it right now for that price. I was like,
nice. Did you sell it to her?
Right.
No. The guy ended up taking it, but yeah.
Yeah, it gets weird there.
I'd never had that happen before. I never thought about it, so I didn't really know what to do. I was just like in shock,
Yeah, I can see that catching you off guard.
Mm-hmm. Very much.
Yeah, that's a weird one.
Anyways.
So kind of back to this whole thing, right? So you make a plan, you get all ready to go, you bring all the money, you got your badge on, you go to the show, there's going to be a big long line, right? So to get in the door, usually there's a big long line. It's always 800 degrees on the show floor, right? Maybe not at first. I've been in there in the morning and it's like, oh, it's actually nice in here.
Well, usually then, they don't turn air on until like around noon.
Yeah.
The turning point is 5 people. After 5 people have gotten into the doors,
it's hot.
That's when the temperature starts rising.
It's pretty crazy.
Oh, it goes fast.
Yeah. It gets raging hot sometimes. There's no question. So be ready for a warm day and prepare accordingly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Be ready for stinky people and try not to be one of those stinky people. I'm not kidding.
Step 1, get ready. Step 2, don't be stinky.
Put extra deodorant on.
An extra swipe of speed stick can go a long way.
Just under being prepared, I've got a friend that does a monkey butt powder too, because you are going to be walking a lot and sweating and chafing.
This hygiene's getting real damn personal.
I'm just trying to help them have an enjoyable time at the show.
Monkey butt.
This is
What
Tom attempting to save you from swamp ass, Bert.
I guess. I don't even know what monkey butt is.
What?
Is that a product?
Really? Yes.
I'd never heard of that before.
Well, maybe you should, Mr. Man.
I guess. Amazon that shit up.
Dude.
It has a delightful monkey with a red ass as a mascot. You'll love it.
It does.
Does it have a baboon flavor?
I've never tasted it.
No, yeah. Good point.
I was going to ask how you knew, but I don't want to go there. Sean, you want to hit the next point in this one?
Ask permission to pick up any knife. It's that simple. All you got to do is say, do you mind if I pick that up and look at it? Just about every maker there is going to be okay with it. But ask first. It's a simple courtesy, and it goes a long way.
Well, for one thing, then we also know where it's at. You know, can get swamped sometimes, and then all of a sudden the knife is gone, and you're like, where the fuck did that go? Oh, and
I had it happen last year.
Did one actually disappear?
I had a knife. Yeah, I had to file a police report and everything. I had a knife stolen right off the table.
Oh, man.
Oh, hell.
Shit.
Yeah.
Well, a pox on whoever stole it and his family.
Yeah, whoever
Kinda crazy. And
whoever stole that, if you're listening, you don't get to listen anymore. You're fired.
there's a camera right over my table, and they wouldn't let me watch the footage.
Huh.
Huh.
That's strange.
Pretty nuts.
Yeah. But basic courtesy thing. And then, like you said, unfortunately, you know, it sucks that Tom had something stolen, but it seems like every year we hear about somebody having something stolen, maybe more than a somebody.
Yeah.
And at every show, right?
Yeah, consistently.
I mean, it's so easy. It gets really busy around the table. So I've got extra people coming this year to kind of keep an eye on it. But I mean, when there's 20, 30 people, it gets nuts. I mean, it gets really crazy.
Yeah. It just
Stuff happens.
The common courtesy thing, just to make sure that we know you've got the knife. And then once you have it, open and close it, set it down. It's not a toy. There's tons of hours of hard work that went into that knife.
Well,
and
it's not yours.
And it's not exactly, it's not yours. We want whoever ends up with a knife to get a new knife from the maker, not a used knife, that has been just flipped and like a toy. So just, be nice with it, be gentle with it. No wrist flipping, no crazing, just open, close it, set it down. That's all you need to know to check the action out.
And 98% of you guys are doing the right thing, but there's a few of you.
Oh yeah. It's
just, you walk up and you stand there and open and close a knife 100 times while you're talking to us, putting wrist into it every time. It's like, don't do that.
Yeah.
If you're one of these guys or ladies that wears a bunch of rings, they look awesome, but they also can mess up our knives. And even if they don't like scratch them or something, if they're silver, sometimes that rubs off on the knife, and then you got a smear of silver on a knife or a gold or whatever, that
Ain't supposed
we have to
be
fix.
there. Yeah.
No. And don't touch the blade, with your fingers. And I'm not talking about like closing. I'm talking about, like a slip joint. Don't pinch it and open it, and I say that cause I've got hormones, and you could have some sort of acidic,
People's body chemistry is kind of crazy.
Yeah, it can do stuff to it, or it could jack with a hand rub, or, there's lots of stuff that could happen very easily. Or if you got some barbecue sauce in your finger, some weird shit, anything can happen. So just be courteous of that and think about what you're doing when you're handling these knives.
And don't ever rub it with anything. Just don't rub it with like, oh, I got some fingerprints, I'll rub it with my jeans or whatever, or your shirt or whatever. please don't do that.
Well, even if you bring your own special cloth, I mean, I appreciate the thought on that.
Yeah.
But that's your cloth. That ain't mine. That makes me nervous because I don't know where the hell it's been.
What grit it's got in it or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, most of you guys get this. Some of you guys are new to the shows, and we want you to get it right off from the start, you know. Some of you guys that have been going to shows for a long time and still don't get it, I hope you're listening.
But at the same time, the ring thing came to a head a couple of years ago because a bunch of us had to have knives sent back to us to get fixed because a bunch of them got these strange scratches in them from somebody wearing a ring and handle them at the Tactical Knife Invitational, where folks really should know better.
Yeah.
And that's really how a lot of us ended up getting these, the cases for like the open bid stuff and whatnot.
Yeah, and it may come off sounding like we don't want you to handle them or look at them. That's not the case.
No, not at all.
Just, follow a few guidelines and everybody's happier.
Yeah, like Tom said, it's not the masses that are doing it. It's just a few that end up kind of messing with stuff that kind of ruins it for a lot of folks. I had someone ask me, or say, why are you getting a case? This such and such art knife guy doesn't use a case and his knives go for this amount of money. I'm like, well, people don't go up and jack with his knives like they do the tactical knife type of knives. It's almost like the idea of a tactical knife. You should be able to, wing it and do whatever you want. Today's tactical knives some of them are finished very highly, and you have to be careful with that finish sometimes. So just take that in mind.
We have to be careful with that until it's yours, and then you can do whatever the hell you want with it.
Hell yeah, slam it on the floor.
Use it, put beauty marks on it, own it, don't send it to the spa. That's your knife, you put the wear marks on it. Love it. Mm-hmm. Cherish it.
Well, it kind of goes back to the basic points of common courtesy, and there's a 99.9% chance it's not going to be your knife, right? So treat it like it's someone else's knife and, be reasonable. Like you said, I've heard that same comment from people. Oh, people don't want you to touch this stuff, or makers don't want you to touch this stuff. No, that's not it. But there is a level of reasonableness that I think is fair to expect.
Yes. If everyone treated them properly, hell yeah. It's just the few that sometimes make it hard. But yeah, that's part of the reason we come to the show is so people can actually look at the knives in person, because there's a big difference between a picture of a knife and actually seeing it in person.
Yep.
It can make a knife that you don't like be one you do, and vice versa.
Yep.
So, Michael, you talked about the case thing. What you're talking about is the little glass box, right, with the mirror on the bottom, with plexiglass around the outside. You want to explain that a little more and kind of? You already talked a little bit how you ended up there, but
yeah, basically, Marsh was like Jeremy Marsh said, "Hey, I've got a line on these cases," and everyone that got them scratched up at TK was like, "Yeah, I'll take 2 or 3 of those." And now it's sort of the open bid and kind of closed bid knives go in there. And a big part of that is because, those are there longer than the rest of the knives, which is kind of crazy so that's going to be the one that ends up basically got used the most. I'd be there on a Saturday, and usually my open bid closes around noon on Saturday, and people would come up and just talk and just start flipping the knife, kind of like a fidget type of thing, and playing with it. And I'm like, I put a lot of time in that bid. That's like the best of what I can do right now. And it's just being treated like as a fidget toy kind of. So we had to start kind of putting those under glass to kind of, and it's worked. It works well. People they see it that way and they're more courteous towards it. They look at it and they ask them, check it out. And there you go.
Well, and this kind of goes to another point that we wanted to talk about, which is the open bid knives. Like you said, they're usually special materials or some special construction or something else, and they're not a fidget tool or a fidget toy or something to keep your hands busy while you're talking to your favorite maker, right? They're knives that are probably going to end up selling for a decent amount of money.
Yeah, and those are sort of more of really, if you're not bidding, it's more for the person that is bidding, because they are paying a ton of money for this, and they should get a brand new knife. Just like the guys getting the other knives, they shouldn't be jacked with. So just be cognizant of that, I guess. that it is a highly finished, usually, from Mears, whoever it is, type of knife. So just be careful. Do not drop it on another open bid knife, which has happened before. A few times.
At more than one maker's table.
Yeah.
So, okay. So for people that haven't been to a show before, there's maybe there's more than 3, maybe there's 4 different ways that you guys sell stuff. Some stuff, depending on what it is in the maker, is first come, first serve. So if people see FCFS on Instagram or on the forums or on Facebook or whatever, FCFS means first come, first serve. That's stuff that's available when the doors open, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes that stuff, a lot of makers will have merch stuff or pocket tools or bottle openers or whatever. And some makers will have knives that are available first come, first serve. You walk up, you want it, you can buy it on the spot.
I do my fixed blades that way.
Okay. So first come, first serve is kind of the basic way, right? You come in the door, you walk to your maker's table. If he has something available that you want and it's first come, first serve, you can buy it, and great, right. You got a cool new knife. We talked a little bit about Beep Beep Lottery. There are still a couple people that do a live lottery. I know Pete Carey likes to do his lottery live on the floor, but Pete's not coming to Blade this year. I think we'll see him in Vegas next time.
A wedding or graduation or something.
Son's getting married.
Were I doing Blade, it would be a live lottery.
Is that right?
Yeah, well, I don't have a cell phone, so that makes the beep beep a little tough.
Oh, there you go. It would have to be like a road flare lottery or something, or a Roman
that
candle.
Ain't a bad idea.
Everybody's walking around with tin cans and strings.
Right.
You won.
Right. And then, so live lottery or a Beep Beep lottery, we already talked a little bit about the Beep Beep thing. And, one of the weird things that I noticed about Beep Beep lottery, like I said earlier, I really like the advent of the Beep Beep lottery because as a buyer, it means I don't have to be at a certain place at a certain time. I can get in the lotteries and then I'm enjoying the rest of my day and I go wherever I want. I go explore the show. I go talk to some makers. I can go do what I need to do or talk to my friends. But one of the weird things that I've seen happen, I noticed this especially, maybe because I'm standing at Birch's table a lot of the time, is when the Beep Beep lottery starts to be drawn, a crowd still shows up.
Yeah.
And I don't get that.
It weirds me out a little bit.
I like it. It's kind of fun. And oftentimes, like at the end, like on the last one, if somebody doesn't pick up the phone or whatever, if there's 3 or 4 people there, I'll have them throw their badges in or something and I'll just draw from that. So I've done that 3 or 4 times when somebody didn't pick up the phone.
Nice. I'm just not a very, I guess, look at me type of person. So the big lottery group, crowd, it was very weird. It throws me off. It really does. It's a lot of people looking at you, so that's what I like about that Beep Beep. It's not many people. So yeah, it is kind of odd when people show up. You're like, I got the phone. I can call you. We're good.
Yeah, it's another chance to talk to people.
No, if you just want to shoot the shit, I'm there. Let's do it.
And Sean, in your case, you do it live because it's usually not a whole bunch of knives and you're kind of ready to be done when you're ready to be done, right?
Yeah. I mean, it don't take long to get rid of 2 or 3 knives. I mean, realistically speaking.
It's the way to do it.
So, I don't know. I just thought the whole stand around the table during the Beep Beep is kind of a weird thing. Now, one of the things that we probably should talk about is the whole, because we've seen this happen even with Beep Beep, right? Someone gets called, they come up to the table, they're talking to the maker about trying to pick out a knife, and a couple people start hovering around, whispering in their ear or offering them money before they buy a knife or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
No, don't do that. Leave them alone. Let them buy their knife. And this was a point I was going to make earlier was sometimes customer they get kind of overwhelmed, because they're looking at these knives, especially if they're like first picked or second picked or whatnot. And they kind of just don't know what to do, even when there's not a crowd around. And I've been asked more than once, what knife do I like? And it's not because they don't know my knives or they don't know me. I think they're just curious. So it's nice to actually be able to talk to them and say, hey, this is what I did with this one. This is why I like this one or whatever. So let's let them make their choice. It's not they don't have to rush. That's kind of the fun of this type of lottery.
So just out of curiosity, Michael, I'm always at my table. So you just have one pot and then they get pick?
Yeah, I do the list thing. Basically they put their name on a list.
But there's only one list.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then first come gets first pick and so on and so forth.
Okay. Yeah, I do the tickets, so they've already chosen which knives they like, and they've entered in those knives. So I usually give like 4 tickets, and you can put them wherever you want, or 5 tickets. I
like that idea of doing it, kind of like Brady did at the Monkey Muster. And I think he quit doing it, where it was like you got a certain amount of tokens, and you got to stack whatever knife,
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of a neat idea. So you can really try to stack your odds in one or spread it out or whatever.
Yeah.
But I like the simplicity of the book.
Sure.
And not having to take a bunch of different stuff. But one day I think I'll probably jack around and do something a little more fun, I think.
So point being, if someone's at the table trying to pick out a knife, if you're planning as a buyer to offer them some flip money, do your thing. But 1, don't do it while the person's trying to pick out their knife. And 2, don't do it at the table.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's our place of business, not anyone else's.
Right. So if you want to offer someone money for a knife they just bought, don't do it while the maker's trying to run their lottery or make their sales or whatever. Step away a ways, go have your conversation. There's lots of places around the show floor where you can talk, out in the hallway, whatever, but don't do it at the maker's table.
Right.
Yeah. And truthfully, most of us don't care if you sell a knife for a bunch of money. That's great. We put the price on our knife that we wanted to get paid for it, and we just got paid that price.
And
so whatever happens after that is, up to you all. But just do it away from our table.
Yeah, a strong secondary market just helps us. I mean, it helps. Yeah. I feel it does.
Yeah, no denying it.
Oh yeah, of course it does.
It's a good thing.
Right. It's just a respect for, like Michael described it, place of business thing, right? And I've seen that happen at dealer tables too, where someone has a knife that they won in a lottery or whatever, and they're trying to sell it to a dealer, and someone walks up in the middle of that conversation, standing at a dealer table, and starts making an offer on stuff. And dealers get pissed about that. I don't blame them. I mean,
no, yeah, they should.
Don't do it in front of my table. Yeah. You want to have a conversation about buying something, go have it, but don't do it in the middle of someone else's place of business. And that's ultimately what the tables are. I think that's important for people to remember.
What's about respect? I mean, early on, I can remember I had a customer I was talking to, and I had a dealer walk up to my customer while I was talking to them and say, "Hey, come over here. I want to show you something," and took that customer from my table, and I about had a stroke. I still can't stand that dealer to this day.
Who is it?
I'm not going to mention any names.
Oh.
But
after the red light's off, we'll know.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the same thing if you walk up and somebody's doing business with, a maker or a dealer. If you interrupt, you shouldn't. That's their place of business. And if you want to do business,
they pay a lot of money
go
for
do it
table.
somewhere else.
Yeah, that's an important thing to remember. What Michael just said. The tables aren't free. They're not offered to the makers as some kind of freebie to get them to come to the show. Everybody that has a table or a booth paid a whole bunch of money. 1, to travel there, 2, for the food to be there, 3, to actually have the table on the show floor, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Lodging. Yeah. It's a significant outlay.
Yeah. And that's where we get to Tom's favorite type of bag.
Are we going to do that now?
And
Is it that time?
we can do it later if you want.
Oh, hell, it's segued. Let's do it.
Do it, Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was a sweet
That was sweet. So, yeah, there's a term in the industry, and if you don't know about it, you should, but it's called brown bagging, and I've kind of had an issue with it for a long time. And I guess we need to talk about what it is, and where to do it and what, or where not to do it and all that kind of thing. Don't do it at Blade or at any knife show. But yeah, brown bagging is when, and it can be a couple different ways. It's like if you're a new maker or even an established maker, there's a lot of established makers that come to the venue and they don't have a table. And I've, people will say, well, it doesn't matter if it's in the pit. Well, I kind of disagree, because I feel like by having my table, I've helped bring those customers to Atlanta, to the pit or wherever our knife show is. And I feel like those, if you didn't help bring them there, you shouldn't capitalize on that. So brown bagging is when you come and you sell your product, but you don't have a table at the show, you know?
Yeah. There's lots of excuses on why people will tell you it's okay.
I can't afford it.
One of those is that pit thing. I'm doing it in the pit. And I think you pretty much pinned it perfectly there, said it perfectly, that the customers are here because I paid for the table or whatever. And they're sort of your customers, you know, not the guy that just decided to bring a bunch of knives,
right?
You know, and sell them.
Well, and
it doesn't matter where you do it. That you didn't buy a table, you shouldn't be selling.
Yeah,
and it's not just knives though either. It's anything, because basically I feel like we brought those customers and those dollars to the area, and if you're selling swag or whatever, you know, if you got a backpack and you're walking around with 10,000 things on it for sale, that's brown bagging at the show, you know, and it happens every year.
All the time, you know, and you get a lot of, quote unquote deliveries and yeah, that's fine. You know, if you actually truly have a customer there that says, hey, I'm going to be there. You didn't get a table this year. I mean, there's exceptions to every rule. And there's a few of them here too. You know, if you do actually have a delivery for a dude, yeah, bring it. Shit, yeah. If you're a new maker and you're worried about, you know, how people can see my knives, bring a knife. Show it to everybody. Take it home with you.
And I don't know about you guys. Would you say that it also would apply to people bringing a collection to sell that they didn't make, because dealers pay for tables? Seems like it would.
Yeah, you know, I've never really thought of it that way, but it makes sense.
But I mean, they paid,
you know, but
they paid to sell their wares just like we did.
True.
You know, if you bring a couple knives to trade or whatever, that's awesome. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about somebody rolling into the show with a roll-in suitcase, or rolling into the pit with a case, and they've got, and I've seen it happen, 100 knives, and they sell them, you know, in the pit. They don't have a table, you know, or 20 knives, or they post them on Instagram. Find me at the show. I'll have these on me or whatever. That's your brown bagging. And this is a small community. And I think you'd be better off not to do that. You don't need to sell at this venue unless you paid to sell at the venue.
Or then you get the folks that'll say stuff like, well, I don't have to pay for a table to sell stuff. No, we don't. We can be selling from home. You know, that's not the point of this at all. The point is, if you're going to go to sell, buy a table. Have respect for the community. Have respect for the venue that's holding the show, and pay them money. It'd be like going somewhere and stealing a seat or something, or going to a baseball game and not paying for it. You know, you're getting something for free. And if it feels wrong,
selling bootleg T-shirts in the parking lot.
Yeah, if it feels wrong, it probably is wrong. You know, so just be courteous and use some common sense when it comes to what you're doing there.
And if it doesn't feel wrong, it should.
Yeah. Well, sometimes that doesn't work on folks. But, there was a guy, I think it was last year, 2 years ago, where he straight up set up a bunch of knives, like laid them out on a table in the pit. And I have no idea who this guy was, but he just laid out a bunch of fixed blades on a table and was like it was his table at Blade.
Mm-hmm.
It was crazy.
You know, just do it right. You know, and it's a small community. You know, this community can be super helpful. If you're a new maker and you've got questions, don't brown bag the show, because these are the people that could be helping you later on when you need help.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, I've been on that soapbox for a long time.
And we probably may come across a little preachy about it or something, but it's been going on for many years, you know, and we've been going to these shows for many years, and it happens every single year to some degree.
And like I said,
it can get frustrating.
We're not talking about a new maker that brings a knife to show people and then somebody wants to buy it and they sell a knife or two that way. At least I'm not, you know, but if you roll in, this is how you're making your money, and you roll in with, you know, 10 knives or whatever, however many knives to sell, and that's different, you know. A little common sense
like
goes
we said,
along.
Exceptions to every rule. I mean, truly, and the intent is, if you're meaning well and you just, like you said, had a knife and someone's like offers you a bunch of money,
take it.
shit, yeah, do it. But I mean, if your intent is to say, I'm going to bring all my knives and not get a table and go sell them all there.
Or you're posting it on Instagram or Facebook. Hey, here are my knives. I'll have them with me. Find me if you want one. Yeah, that's not cool.
It's
even if it's on the down low, it's still not cool.
Well, it's not so down low if you're putting it on Instagram.
But I mean, if we don't follow that maker, we're not going to see, half the people or more may not know about it, but it's still happening and it's not cool. So if you're a customer, please don't do it. If you're someone that's brown bagging, please stop.
Yeah, and don't support someone that's doing it. Just say, hey, it's, But I get it. And Mark, what do you think about all this? You're staying kind of quiet on this.
It's like kind of some of the earlier conversation. It's just poor form, right? I mean, it's not what it's supposed to be about. I think inevitably there's always people who buy something on the show floor that day and they're showing around to their pals and somebody ends up offering somebody some money for something. That's not what we're talking about, right?
No.
You're talking about setting up shop in the pit or setting up shop, running it out of a bag, right?
Yeah.
Where they didn't pay for a table. I've certainly seen people basically selling out of a bag on the show floor, which I don't know, that might get you walked out. I guess I don't know if that's...
It will. If they catch you or you get reported, you're out. Done. They walked someone out last year.
Is that right?
Yeah. But still, just don't.
It still happens.
Right.
I think that's enough said.
Yeah.
I mean, just don't.
Yeah. It's once again, it's one of those where the few have kind of ruined it for a lot of folks.
Well, that's most things in life, right? I mean, and I think the point about talking about it here on the podcast is just to
make people aware
and give it a little airtime, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Shed light on it.
We may have shed a little rant on it.
Sorry. It's yeah.
Sorry, guys.
I'm calmed down.
I'm okay.
Maybe not.
You know what else pisses me off?
All right. So we talked about asking permission to pick up a knife. We talked about how having a knife on your table under glass is not an attempt to oppress anyone, but rather to try to help protect a special piece that probably shouldn't get handled a ton because it's probably going to sell for a bunch of money. At least that's the intent.
It's the hope.
We talked about beep lotteries.
What if you don't get the knife?
Ooh.
Oh yeah. What happens if you don't get the knife?
I mean, that's a real problem.
Blame the maker. If you don't win that knife, you blame that fucking
Obviously,
maker.
in that case, Tom,
the system.
it was rigged.
And that's the craziest thing ever. I mean, we hear that all the time, how our lotteries are rigged and stuff. I mean, if we're going to give our knives to our friends, we can just do that from home.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a long con. That's a David Mamet style of con to go all the way to a show to sell to a friend. But yeah, it's a strange one.
Yeah.
So in the end, it's just a knife. I think people, because I certainly made this mistake early in my participation in knife show stuff, would go to a show and then I'd be sad when I left the show that I didn't actually bring anything home that weekend. And okay, yeah.
I think we've all been there.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
At the same time, it's kind of like it's just a knife. So don't freak out. No one's trying to oppress you. It's not rigged.
I think that's as we get more knife shows under our belt and we start understanding what it's about. Dude, I'm so looking forward to sharing meals with some people and hanging out with you guys and talking. I mean, yeah, I'm probably going to look for some knives. I'm really wanting a Randall number 18 for whatever reason, but
because I have one,
and I'm going to try to get one, and I'm going to look around. I might pick up some stuff, but that's not what this is about. I mean, unless you want a crying knife, and then that's what it is about. I'm at booth 614, but
bring all the cash.
Yeah, no, really. I mean, it's about building those relationships, and we've said it over and over, and that's what it is about. Even if you don't get a knife, you're going to have an awesome time.
And that gets said a lot, but there is a lot of meaning behind that. There's relationships built in this community, and that goes a long ways.
Yeah,
it may not go the way of getting a knife for you, but it goes, I think, at a really positive way. And I think that's sort of the dark side of good secondary market is sometimes people are upset because they're not, I hate to say it, but winning, quote unquote, a little paycheck.
Well, and sometimes it's better if you wait for it.
Well, and I'm saying like you expect to win it so you can sell it and make some money. And there's nothing wrong with selling a knife for a bunch of money. But when it becomes an expectation that you can, that's where it gets a little different.
Yeah.
Well, and I, that's kind of the catch of the whole strong secondary thing is
very much.
It also makes it, even if it's not about the money piece, and, lots of people will say that, right? No, it's not about, I don't care about the flip part. I just want to have one. Okay, well, that's fair too, right? Mm-hmm. There really are people like that. I've certainly have been in that boat. I mean, where it's not about the flip. I just want to have that knife. That's a great knife. I really want it. Okay, right. Well, I want to eat ice cream every day and weigh 98 pounds too. It doesn't work like that, right? I mean, there's a lot of want, and nobody owes you anything. It's not all, so yeah. I had a very similar conversation to this with someone a little while ago, and I think the perspective was, well, yeah, okay, you just want to go to a show and see your friends and hang out or whatever, but what about the rest of us that still like knives? And it's like, well, it's not that I don't like knives. That's not the point, right? It's not about liking knives or not liking knives. It's not about I want that knife or I don't want that knife. It's not. I go to the knife shows because I want to see my friends. I'm also there to buy knives, right? I'm going to get in the lotteries that I want to be in. But at some point, you got to kind of deal with the fact that if you don't, either prepare to pay or get over it. It's not like, I don't know. It's not like a personal attack because you didn't get to bring that knife home.
Yeah. You have to manage your expectations. You really do. It's okay to want the knife, and it's also okay to not win it. I mean, that's just and don't take this wrong, guys out there. We are very excited and very glad that you guys want the knives.
Oh yeah.
That's can't be stated enough. We're excited that you want the knives, but sometimes it goes, too crazy. People get upset, when they don't win. But it's okay. We're going to be around, catch us at the next show or the one after.
Yep.
Yeah. It can get real weird real fast if people aren't, I don't know, if they get too invested in it.
Speaking of weird, did anybody else catch that Mark wants to be 98 pounds? What the heck?
Mm-hmm.
And eat ice cream all day?
Well, he's just got the wrong attitude. That whole I can't attitude ain't going to get him there. I'll tell him that right now.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mark.
Sorry. Okay. So what else do we need to talk about? We talked about the whole thing about not doing business at the maker's table. It's a very common thing, right? Someone wins a knife. Someone else really wanted that particular knife, so they want to offer the person that won some money to be able to buy it, some number usually more than what the person just paid. That's fine. I don't think anybody in this conversation is discouraging the idea of flipping knives. Flipping knives became an evil, dirty word thing that bad people do. Okay, whatever. People flip knives. It's a thing.
Yeah.
Right?
The weird part is when someone points to someone and calls them a flipper and then sells something, they're like, but I didn't like that knife.
Right.
What?
But I got max profit.
Yeah.
My gerbil was dying.
It's strange.
I'm not a flipper.
It gets weird.
Yeah.
Steve needed help.
I don't know. Oh, one thing we didn't hit on is the no shill bidding.
Oh, yeah. On open bids.
And I've had this happen before. Someone's like, I can put a number down and I know someone will win it. No, don't do that.
Not unless you're willing to
number down unless
up.
You're willing. Yeah, you better have that money and you better be willing to bid. Do not bid unless you are wanting that knife. You're not helping us out. You're hurting someone else's pocketbook. So don't do it. And if a maker wants you to do it, don't buy from them anymore.
Yeah, that's
because they're a dick.
Cool. Yeah.
I mean, that's just not cool to your customer.
And if it's a closed bid, don't ask what the closed bid is because we're not going to tell you.
And if they do tell you, well,
don't buy from them either.
No, yeah. And the closed bid is sometimes different. I think some people don't quite understand how that works all the time. It's basically you just guess a number and hope it's the highest.
Well, no, you put what you're willing to pay for it.
but I am going to give you some pro tips. Go for that, Price is Right type of number. Don't go for like a straight even number.
Right.
Don't even go 01. Go like 03, something random.
Oh, at Blade 2 years ago, my close bid, the difference between the winner and the second high bid was $7.13.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's so crazy. What a random number. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was kind of tickled by it, too. I was like, well, now would you look at that? Bob Barker would be proud.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that is a funny thing. People bidding close bid in like big increments. I'm not big increments, but nice even numbers.
Well, I mean, unless you're going in all guns and saying, this is nobody can beat this, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Well, and don't do the epic fail version of Price is Right where you bid $1,499.99. No, that's the wrong way.
That's the wrong side of the line.
Every episode somebody does that. Well, at least they did when I was a kid. I haven't watched Price is Right in a long time, but
sure. Eating your ice cream.
Is that dude still alive?
Is he still alive? I don't know.
I think Bob Barker might be still alive, but the show's hosted by Drew Carey now.
Oh, really?
You think
That's
Bob
crazy.
Barker's listening to this podcast shedding a tear?
Bob Barker's 94 years old.
He's probably playing golf right now with Happy Gilmore.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
He's Bob Barker's alive and well and is 94 years old.
Wow.
Thanks to the magic of the silent Google keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
Or the mute button.
Oh, come on,
no
man.
idea you Googled that. You could have told me that you knew that off the top of your head.
Well, obviously I did not. Okay. What else do we want to talk about?
Pit time.
Well, you want to talk about the food thing?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we should.
We need to talk about that.
So, Michael, if people walk up and someone is eating food, if the maker is eating food, what should you do?
You stare at them. You make it real awkward.
Ask for a bite.
Well, and usually the maker can't talk because they're trying to jam as much food as possible into their mouth as quickly as possible.
Right.
Yeah. Most time don't even usually get a lunch during Blade. Just kind of run on fumes and stuff. But occasionally I'll get something, or the wife will run and grab something for us, and I'm eating as fast as I can. It's usually the only time I've sat down the whole day. The first time I have, and as soon as I do, it's usually someone comes up and starts talking to me while I've got a mouthful of something. And I don't know, just kind of wait. Just if you see me eating or see a maker eating, they're probably trying to do it as fast as they can. Just let them eat, let them finish, and then come talk to them. But it happens a lot.
If
Laugh at the food in their teeth.
Yeah.
If you see Michael at his table with his mouth full of something, just leave him alone.
I have a feeling, though, that's going to be the reverse of what we asked, though. Now that I've put it out there in the universe, it's going to be like as soon as I take a bite, I'm going to have everybody show up.
Exactly.
Because that's the friends we have.
And also, if you're, and this is something we didn't really mention at all that I think needs to be mentioned. We pay for our table; it's our real estate, and we try to put a display out. We have our product, our knives out there. If you're drinking a cold beverage, whatever it is, don't put it down on the table because it's going to sweat and leave a ring. You're dripping on it. I've had guys drip stuff all over my knives, and they don't even pay attention, or throw your bag up on my table. Don't throw your bag on my table on top of my product, on top of my knives. It happens every single year. I've got a story in the horror story section that I'm going to share that about what made me lose my mind. But
I hope it's about the Arkansas show some years back.
It is. It is exactly that show. The only time I went.
Well, I think the point is that a lot of times you guys have display stuff, right? Like you'll have a special cloth or a piece of leather or some decorative thing or something with a logo or whatever.
Our knives?
Or your knives. But I mean, there's like a display thing going on. And so when people put their stuff on the table or their drink or their food or whatever, they're kind of, It's like walking into a car dealership, sitting down in a car and pulling out a cheeseburger.
Glad you said cheeseburger.
Well, the bags are the worst because, I've had stuff dragged off the table. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just be aware, basically, this is our blood, sweat, and tears that we have on display. And we're also trying to sell it. So, I don't set up on Saturdays. And so one year I didn't have anything on the table, but I had my cloth and, I was walking around the show. I come back and there's like 4 or 5 guys eating barbecue on my table, on my cloth, and literally destroyed it. Like I couldn't get the grease out. I dry cleaned it. It still was stained. It's frustrating sometimes, just the lack of thought,
Yeah.
Just be courteous.
Yeah. If you take anything away, take that away. Be courteous.
Yeah, that's a very common theme through this whole thing so far, right?
Yeah.
Be courteous.
Yeah. If you're going to err on the side of caution.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Do we cover everything we wanted to about being at the show, what people should think about when they're at the show?
I think so. Have a great time. It's really an amazing thing. Blade Show, there's nothing like it in the world.
Yeah. And we went over this. If you worry too much about the knives, you forget some of the other stuff. And not to say that knives aren't important, but there's lots of other stuff too.
Try not to stink.
Don't stink.
Well,
be courteous.
And be courteous.
I think we talked about it earlier on when we talked about being ready for the show, but I know Tom mentioned it. Wear really good shoes. Wear comfortable shoes that you can spend all day on your feet, because shows are I don't normally have a problem with foot pain. You know what I mean? Like I go to work every day. I'm like walking around a bunch. I'm doing whatever. My feet don't hurt when I get home from work. But man, I go to a knife show and I swear, it's like when I get done with the show and go sit down for a minute and take my shoes off, it's like, holy cow.
Well, part of it is you're behind Michael's table. So this is the crazy thing at the show. There's padding and like carpet in the aisles. There's jack nothing behind the tables. You're standing on concrete.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah.
Which one thing in Vegas, anyways, I'll tell that story later.
I mean, even when I wasn't working at Michael's table, before I was, or like when I go to New York and he's not there, or I'm whatever, and I'm wandering around, it's a lot of walking. So make sure you wear some good shoes. Don't,
a few Band-Aids and a little first aid kit might not be a bad idea either to have in your bag.
Do like your mom says, wear some sensible shoes.
And clean underwear.
I recommend Adidas Cloud Foam.
Still trying to get that Adidas sponsorship.
He's working on that product placement.
Yeah.
Dude, it's a long game, but I'm going to get it.
Shit.
Look at
we'll
me.
end up with like Stride Right.
Dude, I got Lifestyle Ambassador written all over me.
Stride Right.
Rockport.
Too funny. All right. So yeah, wear comfortable shoes, enjoy the show. And one of the things we talked about before in an earlier episode, maybe it was during Five Knives or something, is, I think everybody has their favorite guys that they want to go see, their favorite makers, their favorite stuff that people want to buy, Nux or whatever, Ray Gun, whatever people want to buy, right? They go there and do your thing. But the show's long enough that you can like grab your pal and go wander the floor, and there's a ton. I mean, like an absolutely insane amount of stuff there.
Just talk to people that are, if you like something on a table, stop and talk to them. That's what they want to do.
Yeah.
Right.
And you may find a new favorite maker. And there's this kind of, and it's hard for us to kind of get around it, but sometimes you'll see a table and it'll have knives on it, and you'll be like, okay, so why are the knives still there?
Mm-hmm.
And it's this sort of vicious cycle of there's knives still there. You kind of get into your head that maybe they aren't good enough or whatever. That may not be the case at all. Check them out. They may be fantastic.
Maybe this is
knives.
a good segue into maker etiquette.
Sure. I think the key thing is there's makers that are super hot for a variety of reasons, because they have a strong brand, because they have a strong following, because they're very popular at this time. And there's another 500 makers at Blade Show that are great knife makers making great stuff that just isn't either known, like their name's not something you recognize, or they run in a different circle than you do, or they make a different kind of knife than you typically buy, or whatever. But if you get out and see the show floor, there's a ton of really, really, really cool stuff to go see.
This is the perfect opportunity to actually check them out and see them, and maybe find yourself this guy that maybe other people don't know about. I don't know. You never know what you're going to find out there.
Yeah.
I think over by, where Jody's table was or is it somewhere over by where Jody's table usually is it a guy from South Africa or something that has the sword canes?
Burger guys?
Yeah. They're over that direction, right? Mm-hmm. Like toward the front aisleway?
I think so, yeah.
That blew my mind the first time I saw one of those things. That was one of those things where I happened to be walking by and I'm like, is that like a giant sword? It's like, oh yeah. The guy's like, here, check it out. And they hand it to me and it's a walking cane, like a very trick looking, super custom walking cane with basically like a daggerish sword thing inside.
Yeah.
Which I have no idea as to the legality of something like that, but boy, was it cool. And I'd never seen anything like that before. I just happened to stumble across it. And then I mentioned it to someone. They're like, oh yeah, burger sword canes. Of course they're cool. I'm like, shit, I never even saw that before.
Yeah, that's some old school cool.
Well, it's so fun. Yeah, it's so fun just to walk the show. Cause if you like knives, I mean, that's what it is. If you're stuck on one specific knife style or whatever, you're probably not going to enjoy it as much. But I mean, you walk around and you'll find like high-end art knives, swords, really amazing work. And it's a lot of fun.
Man, there's even cheap knives that are cool. I mean,
yeah,
right.
There's just a plethora of fucking cool knives there in every price range.
There's dealers. Yeah.
Don't get stuck in your own kind of social media rut, I guess. Or, who you think is your favorite maker. Because, there's, like we're talking about, there's plenty of stuff out there. And check out some of the stuff that you don't even, like the styles that you may not think are for you. Like if you're not into Bowie knives, go check some out because it's just a different form of art. Just because they haven't maybe appealed to you, on paper or something like that, still worth checking out. Something different. Just go and check the stuff out.
It's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. If you see something real cheap and old, you come get me.
Yeah.
You buy it and bring it back to table 16A.
Yeah, don't tell anyone else. Just come get me.
WWE Kronk. Just throwing that out there.
Very much. There'll be that one for $5,000 back there. It's always there.
Always there.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, there needs to be a book on Kronk. I'm just throwing that out there. If somebody has an awesome Kronk collection, write a book.
Oh, yeah.
His stuff. Anyways. All right. Done.
So, Tom, you were thinking this is a good spot to talk about maker etiquette. So this is etiquette from you guys' side of the table, right?
Yeah, and I think it might be a good segue there because it's still in the show. It's still kind of, it's the other side of the table, basically.
Ooh.
And I think
behind the candelabra, as it were.
Well, yeah, I mean, it.
Did you just say
you
behind
look around
the candelabra?
Yes, I did.
Fantastic.
Would you like to join me there?
Well, yeah. I like cool stuff and rings and pianos, right?
And tigers and whatever. Hey, man, whatever's going on.
Dude, seriously, I'm all about tigers. If I could get a tiger, I would have one.
You and Mike Tyson.
Oh, man, if I could have a Mike Tyson quality tiger, like that dude's probably getting the good import tigers.
He's not getting these bullshit tigers. He's getting
you come down here, I'll take you to the drive-through safari.
Not like those flea market tigers like you find in Southern Ohio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which turns out just a big cat somebody spray painted.
It's a big old fat ass cat. That ain't a tiger.
Shave your dog, asshole.
Fool me once. Fool me once.
Bobby, what'd you try to sell me?
All right. Well, this has been Tiger Talk with the gang.
Yeah.
New segment.
Crazy.
Back to Tom's behind the candelabra moment. Go for it.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you're a maker, maybe this is your first show, maybe you've gone to a bunch of shows and maybe, it didn't turn out like you thought or whatever. But, I feel like, when I started going to shows, Bob Dozier, I was working for him and he kind of, read me the riot act kind of, he's like, don't ever sit at your table. Try to draw people into your table. I mean, that's part of what you're doing. You got to sell here, right? And so you see people, if you look around, you'll see people sitting at their table and they're reading a book or scowling or whatever, and they've got a table full of knives and they can't figure out why they're not selling them, you know? And it may not just be that, but if stand up, it puts you on eye level with your customers. They're standing up, they're walking by. It's less awkward. Put a smile on your face, shake hands. My hand is trashed by the end of the first day. You know, it literally is sore, but
how hard are you
it's
squeezing?
part of it. Well, it's not me, dude.
Damn.
Some of these guys got some pretty hardcore grip, but, you know, I mean, try to engage your customer, and it's not just all about the knives. Talk about them. You know, that's, you know, if you can get them to open up and start talking, you know, that's, we talk about making relationships. That's a start, you
Very
know,
much.
and then talk to them about your knives, you know.
Marlo
Be nice, be happy, be courteous. Don't scowl, stand up.
Marlo told me that one about stand. You know, he's like, you always stand behind your table, and I have ever since. You know, it's like you said, it's about being approachable. You need to be there.
If you've got, you know, if you got back pain or, you know, whatever, you can't do it. But if there's not a good reason, try to stand up.
Yeah. There's exceptions, but yeah, be approachable. You know, and be ready to talk. You know, I lose my voice every damn show.
And if you smoke, get a nicotine patch or something, because you can't sell knives if you're standing on the back outside the show. You know, that's the other thing. You know,
Yep.
A nicotine patch. I mean, if you're there to sell knives, or which is what you should be doing, or talk about your knives or market yourself, you can't do it on the loading dock outside.
I can't
Get some nicotine gum, get a patch, whatever.
I can't market myself for shit, but I'll sure as hell talk to you about knives all day long.
But that's it. That's marketing right there, man. It's about being available.
Sharing your
basically.
passion.
Yeah, very much. And that's why we're there, and that's hopefully why you're there. The customers. I know that was 2 U's.
If you're a maker, odds are you're not going to be able to get away from your table. You know, bring a couple bottles of water, and if nothing else, a granola bar or something crazy like that, a candy bar, because it's a long time.
Oh, yeah.
I will caution you not to drink too much water, because you're not going to make it to the bathroom either.
Yeah, when you go by Starbucks or wherever to get your coffee in the morning on that way over, grab yourself a water from there too. It's
And an extra chocolate croissant.
yeah.
They're pretty tasty.
Chocolate on the show floor about 1 p.m. is a bad plan, though. It's just liquid by that point.
It's all melty.
Yeah, it's really hot.
But you can powder it with some of that monkey ass or whatever the hell you got.
Yeah.
Don't put it on your candy bar, man.
Butter it up with monkey butt. It'll
Monkey
be
butt.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've always, and I've never done this, but I always thought it would be really cool. And I think the Strider guys kind of did it with beer, but I've always wanted to have like a couple hundred Arby's roast beef sandwiches and bottles of water. And, you know, it's lunchtime. You come by and you can get a Arby's sandwich and a bottle of water until they're gone or something. Be kind of fun.
Hell yeah, man. I love Arby's. I'm in for that.
All right. So this
Right?
year, you heard it first, guys. There's going to be a wad of Arby's at Tom's table.
Son of a gun.
What did I do?
And a boarding cutlass with Packwood. Sorry.
Strike out on both
disappointing
of them.
for some people.
Yeah, the point is be ready to do business. You know, take change. Look at the knives you're taking. Look at the kind of count up what it's going to cost and try to take a proper amount of change or price them accordingly in even 100s. You know, because a lot of folks bring $100 bills. So be prepared.
It's I've had a hard time being prepared in the past, because it's like usually by the time I get there I'm broke.
I got my wife.
But yeah. What's
I got
that?
my wife.
Yeah, you got a wife.
Abby is prepared for both of us.
But yeah, this year I am going to bring $5 bills because they're like gold.
Well, the courteous thing, polite thing goes both ways, right? Customers should be that way.
Yeah.
Makers should be that way too. I've definitely had the experience where I was out exploring the show floor, checking out some knives. I came across knives that I thought were super cool. I said hello to the maker, and they just were like not even interested in the fact that I was looking at their knives or didn't care, or were in the middle of, I don't know, shooting the shit with some other maker who was bored on the floor or something. And
that blows me away. It's like, why those people would be better off not coming to the show.
Yeah.
Period.
They're
I don't get that one.
Disservice.
Certainly as a buyer, it turned me off big time, and I just ended up walking away. But, which is a shame because it's knives that I might have bought.
Yeah. What's the point of spending all the money and coming to the show and being a grouchy bastard? It's like,
right.
What? I don't get it.
Bert, you had a point in here about open bid stuff. Do you wanted to hit on as far as the maker side?
Yeah. If you're doing one, find out when other ones are doing it. Try to find folks that are, doing open bids and say, hey, what time are you doing this? Because we don't need to all do them at the same time, because that makes it harder for the customers to get around and plan their stuff out. And it's if we all work together, it makes for a better kind of schedule for our customers.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons behind the USN thread as well. I mean, part of it was selfishly for me as a buyer, as a collector, to know when everybody's stuff was happening. But the other piece of it that it kind of turned into over time was, hey, let's get this all straightened out. So when you guys this is back in the live lottery days is when I was doing that stuff. If everybody's going to sell knives at a certain time of the day, then that has to get halfway organized. Otherwise, you're trying to pull from the same buyer pool, right? And that's not fun for them. It's not fun for you. It's kind of, competitive. And I think you guys aren't trying to be competitive in that way where you're trying to steal the other guy's customer necessarily. It's
But do you have it where it comes down to the last and there's people actually bidding against each other?
Sometimes it just ends with the dude that won it. It's different every single time.
I guess. Yeah. I've never had that happen, but it sounds awesome. I'd love to see a bidding war, but yeah.
It's stressful, man.
It is. It is oddly stressful.
Well, I want to be stressed like that.
Bring it, said Tom.
You'll be busy plying everyone with your Arby's sandwiches.
Yeah.
Right?
See, Tom, maybe if you had Arby's sandwiches, you might get that going on. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, I'm just saying, I've always thought it was pretty
You'd
cool.
have roast.
Of course, now they get like $6 for a sandwich instead of like 3 for $5.
Damn.
Whatever.
Man, you would have some roast beef slapped all over your knives. It would get gross.
I'd be like, here's your roast beef sandwich. You got to go down to Birch's. Birch's table is like right over there.
Yeah, eat over there. Watch him eat.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't do that.
Having a show etiquette topic point that says don't stand at my table and eat your sloppy food and then hand them roast beef sandwiches, that's a bad combo, Tom. That's a bad conflicted business plan.
I like the duality of it. I'm going to back that.
But it's a beautiful thing. A roast beef sandwich in the Blade Show. You're so freaking hungry. You got to admit that would be a beautiful thing.
I think I like the beer thing more.
Well, maybe I'm just saying.
I think
what's that
beer thing? I think I'm on board with that one.
Yeah, I can't do that one though. So roast beef sandwiches are like pretty good second best.
See, Tom, normally you're the guy that's got his business hat on in this whole conversation, but I think you're missing the point. You should be working the Sean style angle where you would say, I'm going to offer food from some lucky partner at my table. For interested partners should contact me at the following phone number and start working a deal. Like maybe you get some Arby's bidding against McDonald's before you know it. They're paying to give shit away at your table.
Yeah.
Boom.
Right. Yes. I love it. So if you are in Atlanta and want to give out some food, yeah, it's great. Yeah. I'll work on that.
All interested business parties should contact Tom.
You're going to get a call from big coleslaw conglomerate tonight.
Big Coles.
We're going to bring ribs from Outback.
Yeah. Tom's like, I worked it all out. I'm going to give you away sauerkraut at 2:30 p.m.
We'll have 3 beef short ribs from Fox Brothers Barbecue, and you guys can fight over them.
Yeah, there you go.
You made them sound like it's worth fighting over. I might show up for that.
Dude. Mm-hmm. They are amazing.
You'd be like cage match style. You guys step in that box over there. I'm gonna throw the ribs in and see who comes out.
I'll hook you guys up. I'm gonna hook you guys up.
Nice.
It's good.
All right.
Yeah.
So
If you're a maker, have a good time.
And this is knife time. This
sell
is
your
like,
stuff.
I don't know. If you're making knives, hopefully you love knives. And this is a time to talk with people about
Not
knives.
you're doing the wrong
Yeah,
thing.
no shit.
So enjoy it.
So, yeah, I agree. So, what's the best part of Blade, Mark?
what is best in life? Is that what you just asked me, Tom?
Yes.
An Arby's sandwich by the.
I'm not going to go there, Sean, but I'll let you take that one since it's teed up.
No, it sounds like it's Arby's sandwiches and beef ribs.
Well, I wear my Adidas by the fire.
I thought it was the Conan thing. What is best in life?
What is best?
Well, we're talking knife show. I don't want to mix it up because it's
all
not as
right,
hardcore or nihilistic as Conan yet.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. Yeah,
We get that beef showdown in Tom's place, the rib showdown.
yeah, right.
Right?
I'm getting more of a
Saturday.
Thunderdome vibe from the roast beef fight anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, somebody's going to get stabbed in the rib with a rib and then gets to buy a knife. I like where this is going.
Yeah.
Make it happen, Tom.
No, the best part for sure is in the pit. So you go to the show, you see lots of knives, you do lots of stuff. Maybe you get lucky, you get a real cool knife to take and put in your pocket and show it to all your pals in the pit. So the pit is the sort of like the center atrium area of the Renaissance Waverly. So if you don't have a room at the Renaissance Waverly, then it sucks to be you. But that's the place to be at night. So that's where you're going to want to be in the evening.
Yeah, just come over. And it gets crazy. I mean, there is a lot of people. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many people? What do you think? 1,000 people?
Dude,
Inside and out, yeah, probably.
Certainly if you count
sometimes I
outside.
don't get past like 20 feet of one area.
I get like to the Starbucks place, and that's
Right.
about it.
So yeah, the pit, it's just like the social hour thing in the evening. It's a really cool place to meet some folks. If you won something cool, it's a cool place to show it to your friends. If you didn't win something cool, it's still a cool place to be happy for your buddy who won something really cool or bought something really fun or hear about a maker that somebody found when they were out exploring the show, or just to see your pals and hang out.
Make new friends, talk to knife makers. I mean, that's the place to do it. And it's kind of crazy. I mean, I'd recommend going easy. You know, if you get trashed the first night, Thursday night, the rest of the weekend's going to be rough. But I mean, I can remember sitting up. Here's a throwback for you guys with Trace Rinaldi until 5:30. You know, I had to be in the show like in a couple hours, run upstairs, get a couple hours of sleep and back to the show. I can't do that anymore, but there's people there all night long.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's super fun experience. A couple points to talk about, right? First one is that'll start Thursday night, right? So most people come in on Thursday. Some people can't come to the weekend because they have to work.
Yeah.
But a lot of people will show up on Thursday. Some will show up even on Wednesday. But Thursday night's kind of the things when things start to fire up in the pit.
Yeah.
Don't go too hard the first night.
No.
It's a marathon. Remember, guys.
Exactly.
Well, and don't go too hard ever. I mean, really, if you're so wasted that you're not safe, you know, I've seen people drop $1,000 knives. People get rowdy. People get, you know, pretty rambunctious. People get hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my customers bought a TK9 Bowie, and that night he pulled it out and ended up cutting all the tendons in his finger and made the pit look like a bloodbath.
Yikes.
Spent the night in the ER, you know. Just, you know, once again, be reasonable. Set your limits and try to stick to them.
Now, we can all.
A lot of guys don't drink heavy all year long, and they come here and they start drinking, and it gets crazy fast.
I can agree with that one.
Yeah. Well,
Try not to be the guy peeing in the elevator.
Yeah.
It happens every year.
definitely don't
try
be
not
that
to
guy.
be that guy. We know that, you know, we've all, well, not all of us, but I've definitely drank more than I should have before in the pit.
No.
You know, we're you're tired, you haven't done anything but work and not sleep, and you get there and you see your friends, and it's a great, you're like, shit, yeah, I can relax finally, sort of. You drink some beer, but try not to.
But being tired makes it even.
Yeah, but try not to be that guy.
Being tired makes it.
I'm saying.
But that's another thing. I mean, being tired and exhausted and not eating all day, it's gonna hit you a little harder.
Yeah.
So just be aware.
Just be careful, and this is also, you're in a public place. I know it gets a bit wild, and there's people doing lots of stuff, and it's loud and whatever. But yeah, you don't have to be the craziest of the group.
Well, there's something to be said for not being a giant douche, so you shouldn't be that guy.
Exactly. That's what I was tiptoeing around. Don't be a douche.
Yeah.
All right. Have fun. Have a great time. We do. We all do. Have a great time. Just don't be a douche.
Yeah.
Don't throw a knife at somebody. Don't wave knives around. Just be courteous and not a douche.
And be a little chill.
Chill. Be chill.
Friendships have been ruined by actions that happened in the pit.
Ooh.
We all know this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's happened, I mean, we've been there and seen some of this stuff, and it's kind of crazy. Don't just, once again, be courteous. Have a good time. Look at the awesome knives that are there. Hang out, talk knives, drink your cold beverages, and enjoy.
I feel like we're being a bit preachy, but you guys know what we're talking about.
No, I'm not being. I'm trying not to. I'm not meaning to come across preachy, but
Sorry.
I'm talking about all of us. We're just trying to, just know your limits, I guess.
yeah,
And try not to shoot past them at 100 miles per hour with a knife in both hands in you.
with an Irish car
And a
bomb.
jug of shine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. So, and like we talked in a previous episode about, I talked about experience I had where I was new to the show and the situation. I'd never been to Blade Show before. Someone grabbed me and took me around and introduced me to a bunch of people. Don't be afraid to step outside your clique, your crowd, your friends, your people from some Facebook group or from USN forum or whatever. There's tons of very cool and interesting and fun people there. Say hello to a bunch of people, and you might be surprised you'll end up expanding your network of friends and people and maybe somehow even end up meeting some people that you didn't even realize were there. And that's a very cool thing about shows.
Most of my best friends were met at Blade Show. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
The people I consider my best friends are people I've met in the pit or at the show or whatever.
Very true. And if you see someone kind of standing alone that, looks a little new to the place, pull them in, talk to him for a minute,
Yeah.
We were all that guy at one point. We were all new.
And you got something in common with them.
Yeah.
They're at a knife show.
This is a target-rich environment.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means, but yes.
Well, I mean, like you're saying, it's all
Like
about
shooting
knife
fish
stuff.
in a barrel.
Yeah. It's not like you're...
Can't miss.
Sean, you got anything you want to add here about the pit and that whole scene or experience or whatever?
I mean, you guys are talking about moderation and whatnot, and that's all foreign to me, so I'm just kind of hanging back on that one.
Whatever, man.
I was waiting for Sean to come in with some little bit of good common sense.
Yeah, like pregame. Start drinking a few months out so you know what your limit is.
Right. Work your way up.
Build your
Exactly.
tolerance.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Well, so we talked about before the show. We talked about what to do and not to do at the show. We talked about the pit. We talked about maker etiquette. So I think that pretty much covers the main stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Maybe we should post up some good restaurants too in a thread or something, because that's the other good part about the show is the food. Atlanta has some amazing restaurants, and most of them are pretty close. You can catch a pretty decent meal with some friends, make some friends. It's sharing a meal is it's a big deal, I think.
Yeah.
It is.
Although it gets harder and harder to do.
It does. The crowd's
Just gotta
got
do
bigger and bigger, and it's hard to do those sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I can remember doing where we would go out and there's like 50 people at the table, and we just don't do that anymore.
It's hard to do, man. Big giant groups are hard, but grab a couple friends. And like Tom said, if you're a food person or a food enthusiast, or you just like good food, there's some awesome choices around Atlanta. Oh. There's Uber or Lyft or whatever rideshare stuff. You can get a ride somewhere so you don't have to drive if you've been drinking or whatever. But there's some great food opportunities. So don't order Domino's or go grab Subway from the gas station. Go have something cool to eat.
And then eat at Waffle Hut.
Waffle
later,
House.
like around 3. Or Waffle House, yeah.
Waffle Hut.
Oh,
Yeah,
I heard Sean scoff at Waffle Hut.
Oh,
that's like that damn Huddle House.
That is the imposter Waffle House. To hell with that.
You're disrespecting single moms all across America.
Man, I love Waffle House. Hardly ever do I go to a show that I don't have at least one meal from Waffle House. And anybody who comes to my house, I have to pick up from the airport. You're getting fed fucking Waffle House after I pick your ass up.
That's the best third supper. I mean,
oh yeah, heck yeah.
All right, so we've been going a while. So I think we covered the main stuff we want to talk about with this show etiquette thing. Hopefully some people heard some stuff and some makers heard some things too, and maybe there's a couple funny things along the way. But what about your Blade Show horror stories or funny stories or whatever? So Tom, you had a funny one you wanted to tell.
So yeah, I mean, I've got a couple, but last year one of the dealers pulled a knife out of the sheath and promptly stabbed it in their finger and kept bleeding all over my table. I'm like, dude, hold pressure and go away. I'll come back when it stops. And he kept like looking at it and it'd still squirt blood. And I'm like, no, you got to hold pressure. So he'd hold pressure and then squirt blood. I'm like, anyways, he finally went away, got it to stop, came back, and I super glued it. But I know that's kind of a weird, funny one, but horror story didn't happen.
I like how as a nurse, your medical advice was go fucking bleed somewhere else.
Right. I like that.
I mean, just hold pressure and go away and come back when it's done.
Tom's got the stopwatch going on when that guy's going to bleed out on the floor. And he's just like, hey man, I'm just telling you, you have about 37 seconds left. You better hold it.
They said the bathroom looked horrible, but anyways, he came back and we super glued it when it stopped bleeding. That's what you got to do. Hold pressure.
Yep.
But my horror story happened at a different show, at the A.G. Russell show, the one year I went. And I forget the guy's name. I'm not going to mention it, even if I did know it. But some
I know it.
Yeah, I think I do too, actually. But anyways, he brought his mom to the show, right? And he's trying to push belts. And he basically gave his mom, who was like 60 or 70, a bundle of like 36 grit belts. So this is like, 10, 15 pounds of belts. And she walks up to my table and my knives are all out on my table and she just throws it on the table and she's like, hey, you want to buy these? I'm like, oh, that's like the absolute worst thing you could ever imagine if you're a knife maker. And I was just like, I about had a stroke. Birch had the table right next to me at the time. And, we just couldn't believe it, man. It was crazy. No. I mean, that's like everything you shouldn't do. And if you're there with a dealer, you should know that. But anyways, that's my horror story.
That's a pretty good one.
What about you guys? Michael?
Well, before I started making like the micro knives, I made small knives, but I called them tinies. I called them tinies. They're these real small, kind of skinny little knives. And this was an early Blade show when I was doing these. And I had this guy walk up and he straight ass spine whacked a little tiny knife and looked at me and said, I don't buy any knife that I can't trust. Set it down and walked away. And it was one of those moments where you're looking around like, did anyone see that? I mean, I was in utter shock.
Did it fail?
No.
Then why did he buy it?
Well, it was not for sale. It was a damn lottery. But it's like, gosh. For one, you can't just buy that knife. And two, what the fuck? I mean, it was crazy. I could not believe that someone spine whacked a knife. And it was nuts.
Like, I wish it would have failed and cut his fingers off, but
Well, it was one of those where it's like after he left, I was just like, oh, I should have done this and that and that, but I was just shocked.
what? It's crazy. I mean, yeah. Oh wow.
Tom wanted to be able to say, hey, man, pick your fingertips up off the floor and put some pressure on that.
Yeah, right. Stop bleeding on my table.
And go away.
I had a guy do like a wrist flick from the shoulder all the way down to his knees with one of my open bids and smeared. I mean, this is a carbonized lock. He smeared titanium on the lock blade and it made it sticky, and I had to take it home and fix it. I was like, oh.
Yeah, these are mechanical objects. You can make them fail if you work hard enough.
Yeah.
But it's not
That's
your
crazy,
job
though.
if you don't own it.
Never spine whack a blade.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's bad. Sean, you got a horror story you want to share or anything funny that you saw happen at Blade or horrifying?
Well, this isn't from Blade, but the best one I got. I was doing a local show in North Carolina at Davi's Indoor Range when it was open. And it was an invite-only show. Really nice show. And I'm standing there. I think it's the first day of the show, about 3/4 of the way through the day. And there was another maker there. He was older than me. I don't believe he had been making as long as me. And he's standing there looking at my stuff, and he's jabbering and talking, and the dude's really excited. I mean, I don't think he'd been to a knife show ever before, maybe, because he was all jacked up. And then he starts to where he's going to lay down the science of heat treating S30V for me and let me in on the secrets, because all my knives are S30V, and obviously I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, and I need that heads up. So he goes to pull out, he does all Loveless stuff, He goes to pull the drop point hunter out of his belt, and he's so jacked up and fucking shaken from it. He fumbles it, drops his knife point first onto the handle of one of the knives on my table, and then it racks across 3 others.
Oh, shit.
Now, thankfully, the 3 that it went across, it didn't do anything to. The one it hit point down on, it took a gouge out of the G10. Ooh. And the dude looks at it and goes, well, that should sand out, and takes off over to his fucking table.
To get another bump.
And yeah, that just went all over me. I'm like, wow, really? From another maker? Fucking really?
Holy shit. Well, did it sand right out?
You're like speechless.
Yeah, and he never did lay down the vital knowledge of what I should be doing with my S30V, so I feel like I got double gypped.
It's probably why it's no good. Your knives are probably not as good as they could have been, Sean.
Man, if my heat treat was better, that G10 would have been able to take it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's a commutative property of the riddle of steel right into the G10.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a bad one.
He came back to me the next day and was like, do you want to run down to my shop and try to work that out? And I was like, no, man, I came here to sell knives, not work on knives. I do that in my shop.
Right.
He's like, well, I'm sorry. And I was like, well, shit happens, man.
How sorry?
Too funny.
Yeah, not sorry enough to buy the goddamn thing you just broke.
$500 sorry.
It's only $300, but still.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, I'll tell you what. If I had fucked up somebody's product, I would have paid them for it right then and there.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't have had the gall to look at them and tell them that it would fucking sand out, knowing good and goddamn well that ain't quite how it works.
Right.
It's because you're a stand-up guy, Sean. That's what stand-up guys do.
That's crazy.
I don't know. But
crazy stuff, man.
That's my best one.
Oh, you have another one?
No, that's my best one. Oh, yeah, I've got all kinds of times I've been insulted and people just done stupid shit, but that's the one that really comes to mind.
Shit, I was settling in for a story time.
Oh, man, that's not the first time I've had knives dropped.
Let's hear another one.
Once again, okay, this was at another show, not Blade Show. And once again, the dude, I think it was his first time seeing my knives, and he was so excited, he was trembling. And he's picking this one up, and he's shaking like a fucking leaf, and goes to thumb it open, and I'm like, wow, I'm surprised it stayed in his hand. And then when he's going to set it back down, he drops it across 2 other knives.
Oh, shit.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys... I think it was Custom Gun and Knife where we had the build-offs. Do you remember that?
Yeah, we talked about that not too long ago.
Yeah, well, remember we did one of the build-offs, and you had to bring your knives to Blade, and they were all on display. That Custom Guns and Knives had a booth.
Oh, yeah,
booth.
yeah.
And I had some knives in the case, and I don't remember who was running the booth, but they like dropped a bag on top of like the whole row.
Wow.
It was like everybody's work, and everybody got dings and scratches, and it was crazy. It was like, really?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
Good stuff.
I had this. I was at Pete Carey's lottery a few years ago, and he was doing a live lottery at his table, and he called out a number. I think they had like 2-part tickets that they were using or something. So they call out the number. I think Olivia called it out, and this lady got super excited, was jumping up and down. She's first pick, awesome. So she came up to the table. And she picked out this folder that had, Damascus and Pearl and Mokutai. I mean, like super, his fanciest dress knife by far that he had on the table. And she's like, I want that one. And he said, oh, yeah, that's $26.50 or something. And she turned white as a ghost. And she's like, what? He goes, oh, yeah, you have to buy the knife. This isn't like a lottery for a free knife. And everyone was like, oh, major cringeworthy moment. So, yeah, slightly awkward, but
that happens more than you would think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's understandable. I mean, you said if you aren't into knives and you see just this crowd of people putting stuff in for something, it's hard to believe they're willing to pay $1,000+ for, something, a chance to get that. This many people want a chance to get this knife. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. The crossing your fingers to hope to win a chance to be able to buy something is kind of a weird concept. There's no question about that. But in that situation, it was a pretty weird thing to watch.
Oh, yeah.
When I describe how that works to like my family members, they think I'm crazy. Like not my immediate family. They get it. They understand. But they're like, oh, you're doing a lottery for people for free? That's really nice. I'm like, no, it's a chance to win, to buy it. You're winning a chance to buy a knife. And they're like, what?
I try real hard to never explain that because I just sound like an asshole. It's, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're not being an asshole. You're trying to be as fair as you can, but it's still, yeah.
Well, I mean, explaining it to
when
people.
I explain that to my family.
Trying to explain it just doesn't go well. I make knives. People buy them. Yeah, they buy them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, fellas, do we have any other stuff we want to talk about with show etiquette? We got a couple other little things we got to hit here. So any other show etiquette stuff you want to throw in?
I don't think so. I think at least I don't. I think we did a really good job.
I don't know about good job, but we definitely ranted it up.
Yeah, well, we had fun. We covered the points. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's stuff we missed, but
Tom feels really good about what we just talked about.
Yeah. Waffle House, good. Huddle House, not good.
Man, a Waffle House sponsorship.
Oh,
that would be sweet, right?
That would be sweet like
waffles.
fucking cupcake, man.
Come by Tom's table, get a bottle of water and a plate of Waffle House.
Mm-hmm.
That seems like a really bad idea for the show, but, after the show.
Imagine syrup bottles.
Imagine how much syrup would be everywhere.
Maple syrup on the show floor should be like banned, like a...
It'd be La Brea tar pit all over again.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the pecan syrup's okay, right?
No exceptions.
All right. So one of the other things, two other things I wanted to hit on. One is the other day, Mikey Van Meter posted a video on Facebook. I think he put it in David Sharp's group originally. And it's about knife maker David Sharp and about David's story. And if you haven't seen it, I recommend checking it out. And I think, like you said, it was okay if I posted a link to it. So I don't think I posted it in the Facebook group for Mark of the Maker, but I will, because I think it's very well done and very well produced. Short documentary, I would call it. Short meaning 5 or 6 minutes long. It's not very long, but it's very well made. And it very much fits with the theme of what we've been talking about for these 11 episodes or whatever, which is about knife makers and why they do it and kind of their passion for it. And David has a very interesting and different kind of path that he took to be a knife maker. And I thought it was a fantastic video. I think a couple of you guys saw it as well, right?
Yeah. I highly recommend it. I mean, it's everything about it's top notch. It's shot very well. It's edited very well. It's engaging and entertaining. You can't ask for more. And it's only like 5 or 6 minutes. So it's not even a time investment, really.
Yeah, really well done. And honestly, David Sharp is really he's a friend. He's building some really awesome Loveless stuff. He's building awesome stuff of his own. But, Mark, you talked about the Big Bear Bowie. If you wanted one, but maybe you can't afford a Loveless, that's a great place to look. I mean, his stuff is clean.
Oh, exceedingly.
Yeah, very much so. Good guy, great maker. Super nice short documentary video that Mike put together. So I'll post a link to it in the Mark of the Maker Facebook group. So definitely check that out. And then again, I wanted to circle back to the beginning here. Thanks to Nick Rolfe for giving us the cool read-in for the show. Very nice of him to take the time to do that. Nick's a professional musician, a very busy guy. So super cool of him to help us out with that.
Oh, yeah. Really and I think, Mark, you were the only one that knew about it, right?
That's right. It was a surprise.
Well, I was like, what?
I sure as shit didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, I didn't either. I thought we were getting some kind of funky robot voice going, and I was like, is it already fucking up? Do we already have a disconnect? Damn it.
Yeah, it was great.
Is it one of those random occurrences of Nick Rolfe's voice inside my own head?
Yeah. Am I hearing Nick again?
Because that happens.
Yeah,
he tells me to burn things.
Okay, so we did recently these T-shirts for the show, Mark of the Maker A2D2 shirts, and we did a pre-sale on them. We do have a few extra. Probably going to bring them to Blade's show. I'll have them at Birch's table if we have them. But for people that bought the shirts, realistically, the reason we're selling the shirts, one, we thought they were cool and funny, neat design. We thought was
it's fun.
It made us laugh anyway. But it helps support the show. There's some cost to making this whole thing happen and keep this thing rolling. And we need a little bit of equipment because we're going to do some things at Blade Show and some other stuff. So it's a way for folks to support the show. So thank you very much to the people that bought some coffee mugs and some shirts from us. We greatly appreciate your support of the show. As a thank you, we're going to do a little giveaway at Blade Show. So please wear your shirt to the show. And if you do, come by Birch's table with your Mark of the Maker T-shirt on.
16A.
Birch is going to be at table 16A, and we're going to have a spot for you to write down your name and phone number, much like the Beep Beep lotteries that I outlined earlier. And then on Saturday afternoon, we'll pick someone from the list and let you know, and you'll get this little giveaway thing that we're going to do. So it'll be something that Birch is going to bring. He's not willing to commit to what that item is exactly at this point, but something Birch is going to bring, and then we'll have a ray gun bead with it, and it'll be cool.
It's not an Arby's sandwich from home.
It is not a roast beef sandwich.
Which would be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But roast beef sandwich might be second place.
Mm-hmm.
That's a tasty second place.
Yeah, we're going to steal one from Tom's giveaway of roast beef sandwiches, and we're going to bring it over to 16.
Waffle. no syrup.
No syrup waffle.
Waffle no syrup might be like 20th place.
That's one of the rings of Dante's hell right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, and then one of the things we're going to do, we really appreciate everyone's enthusiasm for the show. We've got lots of nice feedback and comments about stuff. So we're going to try to be available to talk about the show if you're interested, Saturday at 2 p.m. And again, that'll be at Birch's Table 16A. And if you want to come by, the four of us are going to be there for an hour or two. Yeah. I don't know. Depends on what folks' availability is. But we'll be there from 2 to 3 at least, if not a little longer. We'll see. At Table 16A, come by and say hello. Talk to us about the show. We're interested in your feedback, comments, and otherwise. So kind of podcast show hours we're going to do at Michael's Table on Saturday afternoon.
Just come shoot the shit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, talk about your favorite movie knife, that kind of stuff. There'll be a good conversations, I'm sure.
I want to thank everybody who participated by posting up in the Facebook group after the movie knife episode. Some folks put up some really great posts there, and thank you guys.
Very much.
That was fun.
It was fun.
It definitely seems to be one of those episodes that connected with people.
Yeah.
You guys got any news before we sign off of things, announcements, or anything like that?
why don't you guys each let people know where table you're going to be at, or booth in your case, Tom, or what's going on?
Spells, man. I don't know. I think I'm at 614, but it'll be posted. I don't know the number, man.
Look for
But yeah,
stack of Arby's.
right. Just follow the trail of rappers.
See, I'm scrolling back to the maker etiquette part about being professional and talking to the customers and trying to sell your stuff.
Doesn't even know where he's going to be.
That wasn't on the list. I didn't know I had to know that right now.
Oh,
it is posted in my group, and I'll have a schedule posted. One thing I just want to mention real quick. If you're going to be at Blade Show, I've got a new T-shirt. If you want one, they're going to be delivered at Blade. Get it on the pre-order. It closes Thursday. Oh, it's going to be closed by the time. Damn it. Never mind. If you're hearing this, it's too late.
oh,
Sorry.
Great sales pitch.
Dang it.
Tom's hitting it out of the park.
I'll have a few extras. And
Oh, are you going to bring them in a brown bag, Tom?
guess what? I can't brown bag the show because I'm a table holder.
Oh, there you go. Michael, you want to say anything about the show? You said you were going to tell people what you were going to do.
I'll be doing the Beep Beep lottery. I'll start that Friday, and I usually start pulling names later in the afternoon on Friday. I'm going to, then the open bid and silent bid will be on Saturday. I usually have those around 12:30 and 1, but I'll have to double check on times to see, make sure I'm not on someone else's time. Working on some cool material, some new blade material, and so far it's working good. That's going to get debuted at Blade Show. I can't show any pictures or do anything like that yet, but I think it's going to be pretty neat.
Ooh, secret stuff.
It's that top secret?
It is, yeah, pretty secret,
Wow.
Way to throw it down.
but it's cool.
Nice. All right.
Since I can't pitch my shirts, can I say one thing about my show?
Sure.
Okay, thanks. I don't set up on Saturday, so my show is pretty much Friday. Anything that's left over after Friday will be available Sunday, but usually it's Friday and I'm done. So just don't show up Saturday hoping to get in on a lottery or whatever, because I do my business on Friday.
And Tom, in your case, you said you're going to bring some fixed blades. Those are going to be first come, first serve on Friday.
Correct. So yeah.
And then you're going to have folders, and those are going to be lottery.
Yes. Beep lotto. And I'll try to do an open bid. I don't usually do a closed bid. I don't know why, but they make me really nervous. But, yeah, I'll do an open bid. I'll do some beep lottos and first come, first serve on all the fixed blades.
Tom, if you're nervous, why don't you just say that your closed bid, the minimum bid is table price,
Yeah, I guess.
or some number that you could live with?
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know if I'll have too fancy, two folders that are that fancy, I don't know.
Yeah.
I still haven't finished anything, so it's like crap.
You need to get on that.
It's my standard Blade Show, plan ahead all year and then don't do anything. And then the last 48 hours I work like a madman.
Nice.
That seems to be a standard theme with knife makers, I'm noticing over the years.
Kind of sucks, but
Yeah. All right. So that's what Michael and Tom are going to do. And the lovely and talented Sean Kendrick and myself will be around the show on Friday. And we'll have our Mark of the Maker shirts on, and we're going to be walking around the show a little bit, talking to some people. We have a couple makers that we want to talk to about some stuff, and maybe do some brief recording things, and just chat with folks about stuff and knives and life and the show and whatever. So Sean and I'll be wandering around on Friday. Does that sound good, Sean?
Absolutely. Do not be afraid to come up and say hey to us.
You guys are going to be diddy bopping around the show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man.
I don't even know what that means.
I don't either, but it sounds awesome.
It sounds provocative, so I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Sounds like code.
Code.
And I probably don't want to know.
No, you definitely do not want to know. Okay, so I think that's about it. Tom, you got anything else?
Nope. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate your support and tuning in.
Michael, you got anything else you want to say?
I'm going to ditto what Tom just said. It's been pretty awesome. To have some people listen and seem to enjoy the show. It's just pretty great.
Sean, you got any last words for the show here?
Man, I'll just echo those guys. Thank you all for listening. The response to the show has been just overwhelmingly positive.
No doubt. All right. Well, that wraps it for episode 11. We'll get this thing out to you here. Come by and see us at Blade Show. Be sure to wear your shirt. And if you didn't get one, you want one, check us in the Facebook group. We got a few extras, and we'll take it from there. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. See you in 2 weeks.
Thanks all.
See you there.
To learn more about our makers, you can find Tom Crine on the web at crineknives.net, in his Facebook group, Crine Knives, or in his Instagram account, at Crine Knives. For Michael Birch, check birchtreeblades.com, Facebook group Birch Tree Blade Works, or Michael's Instagram at birchtreeblades. For myself and the Raygun Bead Project, we're on the web at raygundivision.com. We have a Facebook group called Raygun Division, or my personal Instagram at msteiner. For those interested in photos, references from the show, or some discussion about the show itself, you can find us on the web at markofthemaker.com, in a Facebook group called Mark of the Maker, or on our Instagram at Mark of the Maker. Last but not least, the ultra cool and haunting background music we use for the show is a piece called Noir Guitar by Stevie's Amp Shack, found at the Free Music Archive and licensed under Creative Commons CC BY 4.0. Thanks for listening.